Now, I don't class myself as an audiophile. I'm not super fussy about music and sort of audio stuff. I am a bit, but not super fussy. I'm not up there with people who are, I wouldn't have spent just £369 on an amp. I'd be spending thousands on an amp if I were a true audiophile. But anyway, it turns out that this Marantz PM6006 SE, so the UK edition, is going to have to go back after all. I'm not sure if it's faulty or if it's just a failing of the amp itself. It was my partner that noticed it, actually. She was sort of sat down by the speaker, and it turns out that the digital inputs, coaxial and both are optical. I've tried 2 optical sources, and I've tried the optical source from my soundcard into another Toslink receiver, so another optical receiver, has digital noise on it. It has a continuous noise in the background. It's only fairly quiet, and if you had music on, you would, of course, never notice it, but it's there. And I'm going to try and play it to you now. I'm going to have to sort of take my lav mic off to do this. I'm going to put it right next to the. In fact, I'm going to take this off here. I'm going to take this off my speaker because I want to actually put it right next to the speaker so you can hear exactly what I'm talking about. Hopefully you can hear that. Yeah, so it's only really, really slight, but if you get your head at the right angle, you can certainly hear it from a couple of meters away. And, well, to be honest, that's not good enough. There should not be any noise on that at all. If you switch it to an optical source that can't sync, or you switch it to an analog source. The analog sources, of course, have a slight bit of white noise on them when you turn it up to full volume. But the optical sources and the coaxial, when they're not synced, so there's no clock either externally or syncing with the internal clock on the sound card, they're fine. But as soon as they sync up, they all start making that noise, and I've tried it with the television as well. So taking the optical out of the television, put it in, does exactly the same thing. So it's not a sound card issue, it's not a cable issue because it was using a different cable. It's an amp issue. It's a problem with the PM6006 UK. And they were supposed to have added extra shielding to the digital side of things to make sure that it didn't interfere with the amplifier, which makes me think that maybe this was a problem previously as well. I don't know. Anyway, I'm kind of going back to the drawing board now. I'm going to return this because, well, when you're just not happy with something, you've had a problem with something before and now it's doing something you don't want it to do. Why would you spend 369 quid or 379 quid on something that you're not happy with? So I'm going to return it. I'm going to get something else. I have to see how well that performs. So I've done a bit more music. I've been done a bit more listening on it, and I was doing some listening at low volume this morning, and you can actually hear the kind of zzz noise at the same volume as the music at times. It's absolutely crazy. I don't know why I didn't notice it earlier. It's just one of those things, isn't it? But the question is now, what am I going to do? I'm not sure whether to just replace it with another amp, another brand new amp that has a DAC built in, thinking around the Yamaha something. I'll look at those in a second. Possibly a Yamaha amp, not really that keen on going for another Marantz at this point. Or alternatively, I might just do a DAC. I'm kind of tempted to just go for a DAC. I'm not really don't really see the need to have an external DAC. I'm not that much of a sort of perfectionist in that way, but it would be quite handy for a number of reasons. So let's take a look at the models that I'm considering and kind of weigh up the benefits and pros and cons of both potentially.
So tune out now if you have absolutely no interest in what I plan to do in the future and what other equipment I may choose to buy. But if you are in a sort of similar situation, or you're thinking about these type of things or replacing these types of kit, then yeah, I mean, this is what I'm looking at the moment. So just to go back to the problem on the PM6006, I haven't really found anything online to suggest that this is an issue. So maybe this is just a sort of another faulty device. So after the one that failed in the left channel, I get another faulty device, but it's clearly a problem. But this guy here on the What Hi-Fi website, this is a very interesting forum. You get all sorts of random questions on here and all the buzzwords of hi-fi enthusiasm coming through on these forums. But this guy clearly has pretty much the same problem as me. And this is the only instance I've found of of someone else having this problem. So what I was thinking is, well, do I get an amp, as I mentioned, or do I go with a DAC? So I was looking possibly at these Yamaha bits and bobs. Their amps look lovely. I mean, they're great, really nice looking bits of kit. The AS801, nice retro sort of simple design, digital in. That's a really kind of, it's much more expensive than the one I was planning on getting, but still, it's a possibility. Let's just take a look at this and see. Yeah, so you've got your standard speakers. The only thing is with this, it's only got one optical in, and I really could do with two optical ins because I want to take an optical in from the TV and I want to take an optical in from the sound card if possible. I could do coaxial from the sound card, that would work too, so standard SPDIF coaxial. So this is one possibility, the 801 or maybe just the 701 would be sufficient. That has a different DAC in it. It has a less capable or less expensive, whatever, less expensive DAC, the AS701, but other than that, on paper, it looks pretty much the same. Let's have a look what else. I did bring up all these bookmarks for a reason. And so yeah, this was the m-dac Plus. This is something that I was very interested in. The m-dac Plus looks like a nice machine. This is just a DAC now. I would prefer it to be this size. So this is the original m-dac, but this doesn't support sort of all the kind of features that I would like it to support. So I like this kind of, it's more like a 1U rack size, but it's not 1U in the sense of it's not the same width, but it's the sort of slimline height that I would prefer. But the back of this one does look particularly interesting. Now I'll have to zoom in on this in post. In fact, can I get to their site itself and show you the back of this? Because that would be better, wouldn't it? Let's tell you what, zoom in here on this PDF and I'll show you the m-dac Plus. So this interests me for a couple of reasons, really. One, it's a standalone device, so it sort of might have uses for other things in the future. But if I do want to take a balance line out in the future to anything, you've got the option to do it. You've got USB in on this as well, two types of USB. And the other thing is it supports AES EBU, which is not vital at all. I mean, I'm not running massive lengths of cable, but my sound card does output AES EBU, so why not use it? If you can, you know, it's always nice having two XLRs at either end just because the connector itself is nice. Trust me, it's not going to make any difference. It would be fine over a coax run, providing it's sort of 75 ohm impedance. What else have I been looking at? Oh yeah, optical outs. Now the optical outs, the reason, the digital outs, it's got one coaxial and one optical out. And the reason that's interesting is because if I take two in, I would like to then have an out to go into a device to transmit to Bluetooth. I don't know if this does that. Someone did say it did, but I don't see any evidence of it on this manual. But it's a really crappy manual from m-dac, from Audiolab. They really haven't put. It's an incredibly brief manual for something that is quite sort of, well, I don't know, it's probably quite a detailed product, does reasonable amounts and doesn't really go into much detail at all. But the optical out will allow me to put this into another device, which I couldn't do because I would have used all the optical outs on the back of my TV. Yes, our TV's from like 2011 or something. But again, this gets me up into the sort of £600-700 mark, which is twice what I would have been spending on the amp itself. So not ideal, but how I would potentially use this is just take it out, go straight into the old amp that I've already got. Nothing wrong with that, and just use it like that. So just buy a DAC and use it with my old amp, because that's all I wanted a new amp for anyway. So that's a real possibility. I do quite like the idea of this. Lovely looking product, except for the height. Clearly beautifully made, but this website doesn't work. So this says $799. You can get it for much less than that. The only reason I bookmarked this page is because I just find some of the comments that people put on this stuff really funny. And I don't mean to offend anyone here. I'm not a hi-fi enthusiast. I don't claim to understand much about this sort of stuff. And And my ear is not trained to hear the kind of things maybe that other people claim they do or think they do, or I don't care even if they just don't, but believe they do. That's fine. It almost becomes like a faith then, doesn't it? Rather, it's like a religious faith. But this kind of thing here, if I just zoom in on here, it adds focus, space, and a more three-dimensional airiness around instruments, especially in the bass. There's no graininess playing digital music files. It provides a smooth, analog-like sound to all files. Okay, I don't even know what that means. But seriously? If I was absolutely brutal, I would say, put you in a room, sit you down, do some proper ABX testing between the two while eating and drinking in between, because that changes the way your ears work while you kind of swallow and all those kind of things. And honestly, can you hear the difference? Well, maybe. Okay. Anyway, I don't like the design of this particularly. I think it's a little bit it's sort of incredibly tall, not very portable, so it's kind of like awkward in a hi-fi separate way, but it also doesn't have the ability to be portable either. It's kind of just in this middle ground. But the reason they made it like this, if I go to it on the What Hi-Fi site here, the reason they made it like this is because they built the power supply into the unit. On the previous unit, it is a separate device, so they've shoved it all in the box and improved the power supply quite substantially, I think, on the Plus versus the m-dac or on the previous model. So there it is. Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. Something I just think might be a bit excessive for my needs, but that's never stopped me in the past. So anyway, yeah, this video is really just having a bit of a moan about the PM6006. If you've had any problems with Marantz stuff or any of these kind of digital problems, then I'd really appreciate you coming back to me. But yeah, I'm just having a bit of just putting it out there, putting it online that I've had problems because, I think that people need to be aware of this sort of stuff before they go and buy products. I'm not saying every device is like that. I'm not saying it's not just a faulty batch. It could just be a fault in the batch, but it's a problem on mine. Thanks very much for watching. I will catch you soon. Bye-bye.